is this?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Radiant Black Podcast. This is a podcast about MASSIVEVERSE and all things in the MASSIVEVERSE by Kyle Higgins, Marcelo Costa, Michael Basudel, and Becca Carey. I'm Bash, your host, and today I'm joined by my friends and fellow hosts Charlie, Ali, and Matt. How's everyone doing today?
It's going great. Talking to Massiveverse. I'm really loving the direction of Rogue Sun lately, so I'm excited to talk about that. And Radiant Red is no slouch in this department. The Massiveverse is firing off, and I'm pumped to talk about it as always.
Absolutely, got a couple of great issues these past couple of weeks. Great reveals. We're excited to talk about.
Yeah, and weather's actually been pretty good around me. Just got back from basketball about an hour ago, listening to the Oblivion Song podcast. They're on their last issue on the way back. It's been really good. I got to finish it after. But no, there's been some good comics out recently. I'm excited to talk about some really awesome or a great one with you guys right now, and cannot wait for that one next week for sure.
Yeah, and today we actually have a special guest joining us. You may know him as the winner of the Radiant Black Trivia because, that was impressive. Also known as Owen, aka Anomaly. How are you doing today, Owen?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for asking. It's been a long time coming for me being on an episode of the show, and I'm really glad that we can do that now.
For sure. But yeah, before we dive into all the Rogue Sun goodness, we actually have some news to talk about in the pop culture world, of course. First things first is a big heartfelt thank you to Ryan Parrott, as he's planning to exit Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when it hits number 100. So thank you so much, Ryan, for your run on Power Rangers. I know a lot of people have been talking about how good it is. A lot of people loved it. And also we heard today that Matt Groom is also going to be exiting his Power Rangers title as well soon. So it's kind of a bittersweet moment as we see two Massiveverse creators exiting the Power Rangers titles. But we've seen that these creators have done so much in the last year beyond just that. Like we have Dead Day from Ryan Parrott, which is getting optioned, and then we got obviously Rogue Sun, and then obviously Matt Groom just did Supermassive with them, and he's working on Inferno Glow Red. So I feel like these creators, they're working on other stuff right now, and we have that to look forward to.
Yeah, we're off the grid and into the Massiveverse. It's cool to see them going from that universe, and now they have more freedom. I imagine there'll be much more indie projects, maybe create their own series. We'll finally get to see Inferno Glow Red. Eventually. I know that's been like the Half-Life 2 of the Massiveverse, but I'm excited to see when that comes to print.
Another big piece of news that we recently actually discovered was the new non-binary Mighty Morphin Power Ranger called the Death Ranger. So created by Ryan, but as Owen notified me earlier, it's actually Paul Allure's idea to make this character non-binary. And Paul Allure is going to be the one who's going to be writing the Power Rangers Untold Death Ranger #1 issue. So check that out. I mean, we all know how a lot of people who are into Radiant Black, into the Massiveverse, they're also into the tokusatsu genre, into, things like Power Rangers and whatnot. I'm personally not very familiar with that stuff, but I am excited nonetheless for this because it looks amazing. I know I'm going to be picking one up. A character by Ryan Parrott, and then we also have Paul Allure fleshing this character out. I'm personally really looking forward to it, and the design looks awesome. Have you guys seen it?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm same as you, Bash. I'm not really crazy into Power Rangers, not super familiar with it, but getting into this whole Radiant Black universe and seeing these new creations like that are really starting to. I keep getting reasons, and I've been kind of leaning forward to diving into that world someday.
Yeah, I mean, just based off the design alone, it looks amazing.
So I remember way back in the day, I going to my local Barnes and Noble and reading the initial volumes of Power Rangers as they were being written by Kyle back in 2016. But I'm really excited to check out all this new stuff because obviously a lot has happened in the past 6 years since that book initially started, and I'm very excited to be checking out all this stuff. I am bummed that Ryan and Matt are no longer going to be writing Power Rangers, but they're going on to write bigger and more massive-y things right now. So.
Well said. It's interesting because we don't just have Power Rangers news for you this episode, but we actually got other news for you. If you've been keeping up, so, I just want to put this out there. We're not associated with Radiant Black in any way, right? We're just fans of Radiant Black. We really, really love Radiant Black. We created the Discord space to have, more, to be involved more with the Radiant Black community and all that stuff, but we're not in any way associated with Kyle or the rest of the team. That being said, I just don't want people thinking we get free variants or anything and be like, oh, like, can I get? Like, I don't get. All these giveaways are from us. There's no upper upper echelon of like variant giving that goes on. No, it's just us. But
Yeah, the takeaway from that is that it's all giveaways, little take,
Yeah.
and yeah, we don't get paid or anything like that. It's just pure
No,
fan
just for
passion
fun.
and love here. Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't get like if there's anything that happens behind the scenes or whatever, it's just us putting in work and sharing with the community. But we're not like told anything special or anything. But with that being said, there is a big community event, and the reason I said all this earlier is because if you want the most official source for Radiant Black news, make sure you're keeping up with the black market narrative the Substack, the Kyle Higgins Substack. Make sure you're keeping up with that. And they recently announced something really big. Yeah, so it's called Blackmail, I think, something like that. But anyway, it's Kyle Higgins Substack. It's completely free. They send one out every month. Sometimes it's like twice a month. They just give us updates about the Massiveverse, updates about Radiant Black, Radiant Red, all associated titles. We actually got a really cool update on the last edition, which was number 28. We found out that there's an event this year with everyone from the Massiveverse, the official people in the Massiveverse, which includes Michael Basudel, Eduardo Ferragato, Cherish Chen, Melissa Flores, Matt Groom, Joe Clark, Alex Siegel, Lawrence Holmes, Ryan, Bill, and TJ from Circle Guy News, aka Invincible Podcast, and the possibility of Ryan Parrott. So, and of course, Kyle Higgins. So you got all those folks from, these amazing creators from the Massiveverse who are going to be meeting in Lockport, actually at the same bar that we saw Nathan get his ass handed to him in. So Ember's Tap House in Lockport. This is going to take place on August 4th, and it's going to be around the same time as C2E2. So for those of you, I know that we have a lot of people in the Discord who live in the Chicago area. I'm very envious of you right now because this sounds amazing, and I know I won't be able to make it, but for those of you who live in the States, for those of you who live in Illinois or Chicago, definitely check this out because this sounds amazing.
Yeah, it really does. And also, don't forget there's some extra Radiant Black pins at the bottom. I did see someone on Twitter, Daily Wiccan One, was pretty excited to get some new pins. So
dude, Daily
shout
Wiccan
out
is
to him.
amazing. I think it's a she. I'm not sure, but I think they love Radiant Black. Like, did you see their sketches like on their free time?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. How like holy shit. Big
Yeah,
shout
they
out.
look amazing. Yeah, shout out to
Especially
them.
for something quick, like on the fly, you know what I mean? Like you're just doing it for fun. Rogue Sun number 4. So and Image number 2 came out earlier. Image exclamation mark number 2, which has this amazing cover by Mirka Andolfo. Love her work. But yeah, we mainly picked it up here for the Shift comics, so part 2 of 4. And let's dive into Rogue Sun. So we already talked about before how one thing this issue did differently that was very noticeable was that you look at the titles for all the issues, the actual logo of the Rogue Sun, and every single issue of Rogue Sun it was white except for this issue where it's pink. And I just thought this is weird. Like it's just it might not be anything, but I just thought that was weird. And we already had Kyle tell us several times that this issue is going to have some repercussions, right? It's something big is going to happen, and wow, something big happened.
I think, is it because of girl power? Because I mean, the female, it's the femme fatales of the family are striking. We see that the big reveal, of course. I mean, are we going to jump the gun of what not Mark Dillon's mother's up to?
It was a very Darth Vader moment. Like I don't know, like I was very like shook to be honest.
Yeah.
I was just kind of shook. Like I was sitting there and I'm like, damn. Like it was just a lot of damn because, and we'll get into this, but she kind of tempers him throughout the issue several times before she makes the big reveal. Like and as the reader, of course, you're not aware at this point until you see the reveal on the last page. So I was pretty shook to be honest. I was just like, holy shit, because it took everything I knew about the comic so far and kind of threw it on its head. I feel like after the last episode speaking with you guys, I feel like some of us, I know at least I was, were predicting that it was the sister, right? Based on what she was doing when she went to like she took Dottie's went to Dottie's shop, she took the crystal, broke it, let the demon out, right? Demonica. You would presume it's her, but I don't know. That shook me, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, there's so many shades of gray, like what's happening with these characters where everyone has a reason. Like obviously our main character can be quite a bully, an asshole. Like, he's not meant to be likable. I mean, if he will be eventually, it's far from where we are now, where he's still kind of being a dick. His his this other family there that his dad had, like, we've got Damien, who's like honestly the least douchey of the other family. Well, no, Ori's pretty nice, but like Ori's getting some damage.
I just want to say his name is Brock, but he is Damien for all matters and purposes.
That was a Freudian slip right there.
There's a lot of Venom names in this. There's a lot of Venom names I'm trying to calibrate properly. But yeah, that's why I remember Ori easiest, and Jules, which I just kind of thought about. But yeah, no, I'm loving Rogue Sun. This issue was amazing, and I think that they do have the pink text. I think it was interesting. One thing I noticed was we've had characters now. Like in the first issue, did you guys think that the villain that killed Marcus? Did you think that was a male?
Yes, I did. I did at first, but then after, like I said, after issue 2 or 3, I was like, maybe it's the sister, right? Because they were kind of pushing us in that direction. Yeah,
true.
It's kind of similar to how they introduced Radiant Red.
Look,
Red. Yeah, that's what I said.
To your point, though, what I will say is that I never expected it to be the mom.
For sure.
And there's more magic involved, so I feel like it's easier to think that this could be any gender or whatever if magic's involved in the costume. It wasn't like legitimately like Red was designed in a way to kind of throw us off that it was a man.
Oh yeah. She shows us that when like she's gonna go hijack. Yeah, exactly. She's trying to disguise herself because she even goes like, one thing I wanted to point out and kind of praise Cherish for is that even in that issue we see Satomi go to an entirely different city just to avoid being recognized, the potential of being recognized by the cameras. So I like that little detail.
I just like that it was a similar spell cast by this writer, but with a bit of a different incantation that gave us a different result, and it was really cool. I dug this. Like, I'm all in on Rogue Sun for sure.
I might have to go reread it again, like the first 3 issues, to see if there were any like hints towards the mom. But from what I remember, they made her seem pretty distant from the whole like Rogue Sun and supernatural life, right? She didn't like it. She was kind of.
Yeah, this changes the way we look at their past relationship and what Dylan's mom was doing this whole time, and why she doesn't want him to be involved with the superhero stuff. And of course, they had to have the line of Dylan going, "Of all the people to stab me in the back, it was you, my own mother." Like God, they want you to be slapped in the face with it on a reread. And even with lines like that, you're not even thinking. That's how good the writing is, when you can kind of like foreshadow and like do stuff like that. You're like, come on, this is mom. Obviously, she just wants the best for him, and she might still. That father-son connection is complicated. When there's divorce, it's like a tug of war between parents and how you're gonna raise the child and what values.
It also feels like Omni-Man. Like, it does feel like Omni-Man.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it does for sure. And I actually did go back in the first, I did go back to the first couple issues and was just diving through to see if there was any little pickups or hints like that. And everything seemed like kind of like the Invincible comic. You couldn't really, you saw little hints, but you couldn't really tell the tone. Like in the series, they really had to tone. They had to put little hints in there to kind of like, I don't know, make you lean one way or the other. But in this, it felt very subtle. But the only thing I did notice was in that first page in their first battle, the line that Rogue Sun says, he says, "You must be new." He says, "You must be new." So that was kind of the only thing I picked up. Just curious, like why she just came out now, or if she just turned evil now. Was she evil the whole time? It's like there's so many questions.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it's like, why did she kill his father? Like, I feel like that's the one that's like, because there's a lot of different motives. Like, first of all, throughout the entire 4 issues that we've read so far, she's the one that's kind of trying to keep Dylan like on the straight, like focused on school, balancing his responsibilities. She's not super against him being Rogue Sun, just so much
making sure he's not using words like facetious. Like, she knows that's not her boy. Like, he knows you're cheating.
Yeah, exactly. So it's weird. It's like, for me, it was surprising to see, okay, this person who kind of seemed like they were really looking out for you is the person who's trying to, but it also gives, it begs the question, like, why? Like, is this because she wants the Rogue Son? Is it because she had a quarrel with the father, like a personal one? Like, I'm really invested in this even more than I was before, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's like literally I'm just my head was spinning when this was going on. I just had to go back instantly right away. But yeah, I was curious. Owen, did you think anything? What did you think about this?
Well, obviously, of course, as Bash said, I didn't see it coming. It was very much a Darth Vader thing. And I feel like the unofficial tagline of the Massiveverse should be the Massiveverse. Every 4 issues, we shake up the status quo or your money back.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Issue 4 is like, it's like, how when we were reading Invincible, whenever you saw a hand cover, you knew shit was going to go down. Like, whenever those hands were on the cover, someone's going to die. Like, something bad's going to happen. and it's almost that literally was always the case when you read Invincible. I feel like it's like all issues of 4. The Massiveverse titles, they're all just like really, really, like someone's gonna die or get their ass handed to them, and then Michael's gonna listen to this and he'll be like, oh yeah, it's gonna be issue 5 next, bitches. It's like from now on, Dead Lucky's gonna do it in 5 just to throw us off. Do you know what I mean?
You don't even know what the series is. You've been reading a comic in VR. It's actually a movie. You're playing like a realistic simulator right now. You don't even know what life is.
Can you just imagine, like, we're at Radiant Black number 50, like somehow we get like McFarlane to do the 50th issue because we're celebrating this landmark, and like you finish reading the issue and then you close the issue and at the very back it's like Kyle Higgins. You don't even know what this book is yet.
It's weird because you're not supposed to speculate. You don't want to speculate for too much. But what Kyle's been doing and the whole team with these series, and even like Rogue Sun, like we've got spin-offs. Like it's a Massiveverse. Like we started off with doing the podcast, we're talking about one series. Now we've got like 3 series to keep track of and like a Shift miniseries. It's a ton. So you don't want to put your expectations too far out there. But also it's hard to think of what the teams are actually doing and actually going to pull off. It's crazy.
They said there's one project that's not Massiveverse related that hasn't been announced yet. So I'm very curious to hear about that.
Yeah, this issue, the one thing I did find, like, this book is just so real and organic with like just its dialogue and its just interactions with people and family and the school and whatnot. But the first thing that had me dying was them doing like the practice on the action figures, him trying to release the Blackfire at first, and just him like
that literally takes us to Radiant Black, no?
Radiant Black 4 and this
Radiant Black 4, which is hilarious.
Yeah. Figured destroying.
Yeah, I was literally just about to bring that up. It's like he's making a practice on a Grey Raven action figure, which is exactly what happened in issue 4 of Radiant Black.
Yeah.
And both protagonists,
that is awesome.
There's parallel L's that they've both taken too, where like Rogue Sun gets his ass kicked and finds out his mom's there, and then obviously, the less said about what happened, Nathan, the better. But yeah, so I love it.
You know what this book reminds me of, like tempo-wise? And I don't mean like thematically, because thematically it is a little bit different, but I mean like
pace-wise.
Like vibe-wise,
okay.
It kind of reminds me of Ultimate Spider-Man. Like it really does. Like the way it reads is very good. Like Ultimate Spider-Man had like the way it was written. He had like so much going on in his life. He had like all the shit going on with his family, and then he had like all the shit going on with like Oscorp, and then he had, you know what I mean? Like
that's a good point. I was literally just about to say the stuff at school. It kind of is just weird. It kind of reminds me of the Toby, like the Spider-Man 2. Like just like it's kind of the opposite of Parker Luck in a way, where everything that he's going through is all pretty much just self-inflicted by him. Yep. Whereas Peter, just like his books fall, people come over and like slap him, and his homework falls. Like everything's just.
Rogue Sun number 4. Yeah, so I'm really into his the whole dynamic. I really like not Demonica, Van. That's the girl that he used to go out with, Van. Yeah. So
I have a theory about her. Oh yeah, Vanessa. Yeah, we don't know. It was something about
he was a dick apparently, and then she dumped him, right? Is that what happened? Oh, she said it's just I agree with what Charlie said earlier about how the lines in this book are so like they're organic, they're very well written. It's a very like teenage like vibe to it. It feels authentic is what I'm trying to say.
Feel like this dialogue feels like stuff that you've heard, and these are real people basically.
Yeah, like look at what she says to him. He says, Van, you're seriously still mad at me for that thing I can't even remember? And she says, no, I'm mad at you because you're a bully and an asshole, Dylan. Like it's just straight up like she just gives it to him raw, and I love it. So I'm not a bully, and she's like, what do you call someone who shoves kids into lockers and blackmails them into doing their homework? And he's like one hell of a multitasker. So he's got that like teenage wit to him, like where they're all like witty, they're kind of hedonistic, replying, quick wits kind of thing. And so you could see Dylan's not a dumb kid by any means. He's just a lazy ass kid, like just kind of entitled. So he's using his power basically to torment these kids and have them do his work.
And he didn't have a father figure, right? Like he thinks his dad left, and your dad is like a lot of what we identify with growing up, and you don't have that, and you think your dad is trash, and then you kind of embody those feelings of your dad is shitty, you're not worth anything, why would you believe in anything and just do things to get by? Like people get trapped in these headspaces, right, in our lives, whether it be as a teenager, or it could go on longer than that. So it's kind of interesting to see that dynamic. I'm really interested in the psychology of this, and also the family dynamics. Like you hear all these stuff, like everyone has this idea of like, oh, I just wish my family was normal. There's no such thing. All families have their own kind of things. Some it's like Lannisters versus whatever, but it's interesting just how the family dynamic, and I love how it was, like I mentioned sleight of hand earlier. You look at issue 2, I think is the one with the cover of like the family portrait. So it's kind of like we're looking over here, but we don't even think about Dylan's home life with his mother, and that's how we get the twist like this. So really good writing, really tight family dynamic that's been super fleshed out in 4 issues, and I feel like I know these characters already.
You know who Demonica reminds me of, and I'm not saying aesthetically, even though there is a little, no, not really, but I'm more like vibe wise. She reminds me of Universa. Like she really does. Like Universa popped in the very similar way.
Yeah.
Popped in, fucked shit up, like she showed everyone that she was bad as hell, and then
Is that like Perpetua's cousin or something?
if an Invincible, it's the chick with the staff, remember? Yeah. She just shows up from another planet one day to take all the power and stuff. It was hilarious. But yeah, like obviously Demonica is much more like her motives are different. She doesn't come to give resources. She's just here to be crazy as fuck. But I do like the way she's boom, she's in there, she's tearing everything apart. She's pretty powerful. Her design is amazing. I like the same way that Universa had a very unique design, even for the amazing universe of like the Invincible universe, where there's so many unique designs. I think
The
Demonica,
tattoos cool.
the
That's
colors
gonna be hard
too.
to keep consistent. Oh, the colors too. But yeah.
There's a big contrast between every page that has Demonica as opposed to like the pages that don't. The colors are literally more pink or purple when she's on the page. I really like that. She has like her whole vibe going on. She looks really cool. I really dig her. For me, it's very important, personally, I'm speaking for myself, when I'm reading a superhero series, it's very important that you have good villains, even if they're not the villains you're going to use as the main villain. Like, it has to be something that's going to keep me engaged, and if it's like a garbage villain, that's just like a lot of, big two comics tend to literally just take the hero and invert it and then make a villain. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this, but you should look it up. It's fucking hilarious. So Dr. Fate, one of my favorite characters, actually has, and it's not a Dr. Fate villain, ironically, which makes no sense, but you'll understand. So if you look up Dr. Chaos, it's literally Dr. Fate with the colors inverted, like the blue and the yellow are switched, and
It makes me think of South Park too. It's Professor Chaos basically. But Dr. Chaos.
Exactly, it's like chaos or order, and like Fate's all about order. So it's like they literally just took the opposite, right? And it's just like, I mean, they do it with all the characters. Like Shazam has reverse Shazam, Flash has reverse Flash, like Batman has like how many, like you're gonna see right now, I'm calling it. Failsafe is gonna be similar to Batman, at least in my opinion, based on how they're soliciting him. And if you don't know, Failsafe is the new villain being solicited for Zdarsky's run, who's gonna show up in the first issue, which is on FOC right now. So make sure you get that. It's gonna be awesome.
I was just gonna say quick, like, and that's why I like these. I'm liking these villains so far in all of the Massiveverse. The Radiant Black villains have been a lot of fun so far, and these ones too. You want them, like, you have those very like specific, just inverted villains, like you were saying. But Batman, like, what makes his rogues gallery so good is he has so many characters not like that, like Scarecrow,
exactly,
like
or
Mr.
even
Freeze,
Flash, right? Like Flash has many villains.
Yeah, you just gotta have a variety and just like be able, just memorable. But I've been really liking just the variety so far in all of these villains, and I can remember pretty much every one and what their powers have been so far.
This might be a hot
I
take.
think Monica's awesome. Yeah.
This might be a hot take, but I prefer Rogue Sun's Rogues Gallery already to Radiant Black's.
So apples to apples, I honestly think, objectively speaking, the Rogue Sun has been, the first 4 issues have been better than the first 4 issues of Radiant Black. Like, I just think overall they just
before. Like we've been enjoying the first few issues of Rogue Sun a lot more, and I think part of it too is that the vibe around Rogue Sun and kind of like the lore,
I think Radiant Black
it gives them more
favors.
creative liberty.
But
right?
Radiant Black did it favors. I think that's where I have to put that out there just to clarify what I'm saying. It's not that one is better or worse. It's that Radiant Black did the heavy lifting of setting up all this stuff to give you a familiarity of who this person is, as in Rogue Sun. So Rogue Sun just gets to build on that and then take their own, walk
Plus
their own
they get
path.
the Massiveverse crossover to kind of like launch them.
Like you knew who Rogue Sun was, like, even before Dylan became Rogue Sun from Supermassive. So it's like
we
Radiant
started
Black
out hitting the ground running already. There didn't have to be as much setup as Radiant Black.
Did you guys see the tweet that Ryan Parrott tweeted saying, like, how did you guys hear about my comic?
Yeah.
And then he put like Radiant Black, like
Power Rangers.
Power Rangers, other, and like the number one was like
It was mostly Radiant Black.
Black
from
was
what I
like
remember.
56%. Yeah, it was like Radiant Black. So that's what I'm saying. Like Kyle must be happy in the, and obviously don't take that 100% for like as in that's the truth, because you don't know who answered that poll. You don't know if like because I retweeted it as
Yeah.
Radiant Black podcast account, the only people who follow
And
the
who
podcast. You know
was
what I
on
mean?
Twitter
Like,
that day?
exactly. So don't take it as like this is the truth. But the fact that it was like almost 60% of the people just tells you that whether, even if it was half, even if it was 30%, that is still a significant amount of people to draw in from another title, right? That's impressive. So if I was Kyle and if I was Ryan, I'd be very happy that they did it the way they did, because clearly it helped. And so that's awesome.
And that's just my taste, right? Like I prefer these villains just because like I like creepy horror stuff, and I just like if you give me like Billy Bloodmoon, like a stupid werewolf boy, and he's not. I mean, he's the youngest. I'm sure his brothers are smarter or whatever, but he's kind of like an ignorant asshole. Like I just think that's kind of like a cool take on a werewolf. And then you've got Demonica is really awesome. And if you have like a creature that's just roadkill that applies more roadkill to themselves from like their kills, I'm like, yeah, obviously you're speaking my language. I
They
think,
all look amazing. They look unique.
yeah, and like the names, even how they kind of like even you have Rogue Sun saying seriously, Demonica, Suave, Blood Moon, your bad guys have the dumbest names, which is they're kind of silly, but I like them. And like Suave is really cool. Suave looks like he was like part of Cobra.
Suave's amazing.
Yeah, and I just think that the Rogue Radiant Black villains are a little too similar. They're all like we're powered off you. Like Zhao's cool. Zhao is different than Guy, but like they're all kind of both like suits powered by this. I like the mystic element gives it much more of a difference.
No, I agree 100%. Like what you're saying is like
Yeah,
all these villains are unique in Rogue Sun, but in Radiant Black, while they are unique, they all share that similarity of being powered by alien technology.
They just they're just
Except 0-0.
chasing
I guess
for
no,
the bag.
0-0.
Yeah.
Yeah,
001 too, yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
he's
saying.
also-
Rogue
Yeah,
Sun with the
yeah.
whole magic thing, you have a lot more creative liberty to like create kind of like bonkers kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
There's no, and maybe Radiant Black will reach that point. It's just so far in the Radiant Black
Oh no,
story.
I'm 100%
really,
sure it will. I think
yeah.
once we go to space in Radiant Black, I think the series is gonna change.
I was just about
like
to say we got a
Invincible.
little hint
Yeah.
of that in.
We
Just
thought
like
we were going to
Invincible.
space like 10 issues ago.
Invincible is like a literally different comic when they go to space. It literally
Yes,
becomes
yes.
a science fiction comic. It changes
Yes.
from like a superhero action to a superhero sci-fi. Like it
Like
almost
Earth
becomes
is irrelevant as it is
it
on the
becomes
grand
like Green
stage
Lantern.
of the cosmos.
like with the whole what is it called, the coalition. It becomes like Green Lantern. Like genuinely, it's all these people trying to do something big, and it's awesome. Like I really think Radiant Black is gonna change once we go to space. Like do you guys see, for example, Radiant Black number 10? The existence issue is so different than everything else, even though everything else is very different. Like it's already different than your basic superhero. Like number 10 is completely off the rails, batshit crazy different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, felt like an event in a way.
Yeah.
I was curious on your guys' thoughts here. Going back to Rogue Sun. When he gets in trouble and the mom, actually you find out the mom is who ratted out Dylan to the teacher. Do you think this is a way for her? Like, do you think this was her plan all along to kind of make him easy bait to get her hands on the Sunstone?
Smart. I
Or
think you're right.
That's what I was thinking, but like I think you're right, but I'm not sure. I don't want to say yes, you're right, because I don't know, but I think you're onto something, because if you look at the book, there's a different page where she says right afterwards, she says, where does she say? Wait, she says she doesn't want him to talk to the dad ever. Like she's like, I don't want you to talk to him, and that's when he tells her about the deal they made, where it's like, don't worry, like once I do this, like he's never gonna. No, this is what he said. She says, I've heard you talking to someone late at night, and when you come home in the morning, it's him, isn't it? Your father. And then she says, I don't want him in your life, Dylan. I don't want him anywhere near. And then he cuts her off and says, Mom, relax. He's not alive, okay? He's dead. He's just part of the suit now. And we made a deal. Once we figure out who killed him, he's gone and the powers are all mine. Don't worry. I'm getting closer every day. See, like, so that's why I think you're right. Like, it's weird that, like, normally when you read this, it could just be like, oh, responsible mom is looking out for her kid and she doesn't want her already dumbass kid to get swayed by this dad that was already a dumbass as well. But then you read the ending and you look back to this and it's like, oh, is she trying to keep him from like figuring out how to defeat me or something? Do you know what I mean? Because it's just like, it's like, why doesn't he want her to, like, it's his dad, you know what I mean? Like, what?
so many questions. I actually had a quick one because I was curious for Owen. Do you have a favorite Rogue Sun villain so far? Has there been anyone that stood out to you?
Well, Suave, obviously, of course, he's been really cool. Obviously, I really like those intellectual villains who it's very clear the fact that they have some kind of signature look of superiority to the hero, and he very much seems like that's Rogue Sun. But I also really like Demonica's powers and how they work. It's like she gains stronger by every soul she absorbs, both from the living and the dead.
I do like that. Yeah, she just
And-
wants to look younger. She wants to lose a couple wrinkles.
And she's
Well,
got the
focus,
stuff like
focus,
she doesn't.
bro.
She doesn't hold the souls, right? Like her stomach, I don't even. It's like empty, like it's like carved out looking. It just shows how like it's an insatiable hunger, and it does, you know. The design's really cool the more I look at it too.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, him. I did this moment here when you have Marcus in Dylan's head you got him hyping him up. You're a survivor. Do you hear me? He's getting ready to use the Blackfire. That moment reminded me so much of like that. It was like I think the second episode of like Moon Knight where he's like summon the suit, and it's like hype up to this moment, and it's like you just can't do it. But you can see a little hint of it. You can see the light get a little brighter, a little whiter, like as it transitions. But I'm really excited to see that eventually.
I actually really like that he can't do it because like it's so realistic. Like how many people
I like that.
Like how many people are gonna be like gods when they first like just get their armor and they're just like, let's go, baby, like, you know, like I'm ready to fuck you up. Like
I thought it was gonna happen for sure.
I was 50-50. I was like, maybe it's gonna happen, but like how are they gonna justify it if it really is hard to do? And then he just like kind of like panic does it. You
like
know
the
what I mean?
firepower, like if people are able to use the firepower, like
that's fair.
Like with Marshall's, for example, when he puts on the cloak, I feel like because we talked about how emotions motivate your radiant powers, I feel like his anger really helped him. You know what I mean? He was really angry. His best friend, for all he knew, just died, and that he's really like, we're talking issue 5 when he's beating up Satomi. Like his best friend just died, and for all he knows, he's holding the person that killed him, right? So like his anger probably pulled through for him, pure like raw emotion in the moment. But here, like it's a kid. He's unsure of himself. He's freaking the fuck out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's fair. I kind of just that's a good point. I kind of just saw the Blackfire as like not something very like powerful, but comparing it to the firepower really does it for me, like kind of a more special thing you lead up to. That's
what do you guys think it's going to look like, or what do you think it's going to like actually turn out to be?
It's probably going to be like either a really dark fire, like if it's called Blackfire, right?
Yeah.
Or it's going to be one of those like black and white things that's like so intense that it just makes the whole.
I think it'll be black and white. I think it'll be black and white.
Yeah.
Could be his cape mode, right? Maybe he has like fire coming off the design, like even more fire popping off.
That's what I'm wondering. Like we have like, we know Radiants have mechas, and we'll get more into that later. Spoiler alert. But oh my God, what if Rogue Sun has something else? And obviously we know he has the dad, right? You can see his dad, so he has that like Firestorm angle kind of. But what if he has like wings? You know, fire wings.
That'd be like.
I mean, we don't know the origin of the Sunstone yet. Like,
what if he has like an Inferno sword, like all black but all made out of fire? You know what I mean?
What Ali said. We don't know the origin of the Sunstone, right? Like, we don't have what if this is more connected to the Radiants than we think? Like, we don't know if it is. It's its own separate series, but what if the Radiants are something from black holes, and like when a sun implodes or at the end of a sun, does that make a black hole? I don't know, but maybe they're more connected. Maybe these are like artifacts throughout space. Different planets have their own kind of thing. Like it could be its own version of a Radiant. A Sunstone and Radiant are very similar. Maybe there is some kind of a connection process with it, like the Soul Stone. There's like souls in this. The robot can hold souls. Like I think there's a lot of parallel stuff here that could be more connected than we think.
I know, right? Sure. Like if he gives it to Gloom, she might even turn into Blossom, but like who knows?
Shit. I'm really liking where we're going. Like the sky's the limit with the series. It's a really cool frontier that we're exploring, and like this is amazing. This is like 4 issues in. We have I don't know, even if they don't be end up connected, it's not going to be like people with like episode 8 of Star Wars like, oh, you didn't make my fan theories. Like, cause they always exceed my expectations or take me in different routes that I can't believe we went.
Yeah, that's what I like, and that's the one thing. Yeah, sometimes you over speculate and it kind of diminishes your expectations. But it's fun to do this, and it's fun to talk about it. But at the same time, we know they're gonna do something that's really cool, and I don't think there's been anything so far to tell us otherwise.
Like I have to keep telling myself, Rating Back has only been out for a year. We've only had like 4 issues of Rogue Sun. I need to like chill out and just wait for it to happen, see what happens by myself. I can't. My brain just keeps going forward and forward. You gotta sometimes slow down and appreciate what's happening.
It's true.
Dude, sometimes it feels Owen made one of the issues. Like Owen's letter made one of the issues. I swear.
Yep.
And
In the letters page on issue 3, which is the first instance of all the letters being collected.
yeah,
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah. And he replied, fucking Ryan replied to him, man, which is awesome.
No, it was Michael.
Oh, it was Michael, right?
Oh, Michael.
Oh,
Okay.
sweet.
Sometimes
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
even better.
So yeah,
Yeah,
true,
even better.
it's true.
Bonus
Yeah,
pursuit, back at it again.
We can't
Yeah.
call him that. It's off the record.
Oh, well, Michael, if you happen to be listening to this, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I will be calling him
doesn't
additional
like, it doesn't
Michael
like
from
it
now
when
on.
we call him that, like when he's around, just tease him. But he's amazing. I mean, I literally saw Kyle call him Swaggy B yesterday on Twitter. So
Nothing will ever beat Hollywood Bobby Kirks, but if we can get that
Yeah,
kind of
it's
a
true.
nickname level, but yeah, and it's not even a bad nickname. It's like a bonus round in Donkey Kong Country. Like, wow, I get a free light. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, anyways, I've dug that hole deep already. But yeah, no, that's really sweet that your letter got in. It's always a nice feeling to read your letter in the back of a book you love.
it's such a like fanboy moment. Like I
Oh, yeah.
I know it's happened to us, and I literally bought like 5 copies of Radiant Black 5 because our letter made the.
I hand them out at parties. I invite people over just to read this, and then I send them home right after. Like, oh, there's my letter now.
I
no,
legit
it's
like I
great.
gave my girlfriend a copy of the image first, and I told her she traveled to Italy, and I was like, just put it somewhere, like in Italy, just leave it somewhere for someone to find. She was like, okay. So up next, Radiant Black in Italy, baby.
No, they're gonna be depressing. Oh, a comic. Oh, it's in English. Fuck. Or
No, man, they'll be fine. They'll just see the tokusatsu, and they'll be like, hell yeah.
We're off track now, but yeah, no, I'm loving this. I wonder how many villains in the Parian jewelry shop has Ryan actually thought of? Because it could be infinite, right? It's really cool. I wonder how many he's got in mind and how far ahead the series is planned.
Oh yeah, I honestly can't even imagine. One of these days we're probably gonna have to get Ryan back on the show alone, like just Ryan and us, and then have to ask him some questions about Rogue Sun because we
Alone, no
definitely
lawyers
have a lot.
involved. I want information. I want story arcs. No, but it would be a dream to have Parrot back on here for a deep dive for sure.
Pretty much it. What else is left? I mean, so yeah, the way this issue progresses is that the Monica continues. We've seen the whole issue is that he's trying to reach the Black Fire, trying to be able to channel it. His attitude's in the way, Dylan's attitude's in the way. Obviously, Demonica's in the way. And one thing I really enjoyed is that seeing this new hero, he can't beat Demonica. Demonica is like a seasoned villain, right? She's powerful, she's ancient.
And she
she's like-
specifically could target you with your dad and the Soul Stone, and you're 2 souls, 1 stone, and that's not a joke I wanted to make, but that's where we're at. That's where we're at. But it's an extra weakness for Dylan and his dad in this, and I thought that was a really cool way to do it. That we're already bringing the soul element in this. He's already being affected in the ethereal realm, which I thought was cool. So anyway,
It's just so cool that she can see his dad, which I thought was like a really cool moment in the series. It was like, oh
Yeah.
shit, you know what I
an
mean?
advantage
Like,
is turned to a weakness.
Yeah, exactly. So that was awesome. And yeah, like I like that the issue ended with Dylan in a very difficult spot. Like we really don't know. Like I compare it to that Omni-Man moment because the first time you read that like issue before you read the next issue, you don't actually know what Omni-Man's gonna do. You have no idea. You're just like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? Is his dad gonna talk to him? And then you experience that issue and you're just like, oh my god, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like this is like that. This is that anticipation that I have here once the issue ends and you see that. First of all, gotta give credit to Abel and Chris O'Halloran for their art with the pencils and coloring in this amazing every issue, but this issue in particular is gorgeous, and that last page is just amazing. Just that mom, looking down at Dylan when you get to full body shot with her helmet off, and it just looks menacing as hell. Like I love it. If they ever did a second print cover, this would be perfect candidate for a second print cover, just with her on the cover looking all badass. But like check out Rogue Sun #5. Make sure you check out this title in general. And yeah, I'm more and more impressed with each issue, and I couldn't recommend it enough personally.
The bandaged face design is really cool on the mom too, because it's kind of like it's been wounded and stuff like that. But I don't know what her design is going to be going forward because she doesn't really have to hide her identity. But I like the bandages. You can tell this is someone who's been wounded and is doing this, and I just like it. Plus the cloak reminds me of Oblivion Song, and you have the armor on there. I love the design.
Yeah,
Very
no,
cool.
that does look awesome. I did want to say too, these last couple pages, like as well as like the letter pages, I just love the aesthetic of like the physical book itself, like the sparks and stuff. And every week, like looking at the little character on the back, like who they draw.
I love that,
Monica
dude.
looking. I
Dude,
love that. Like,
that's some Invincible shit, man. Invincible used to do that for the first like 10 issues or something.
That's awesome.
I love that shit. I adore that shit. Like if more comics should do that because it's just nice. Like I don't know, like books. I think books like Killing a Joke or Three Jokers do things like that. I know Watchmen and certain books. I know Doomsday Clock. I think did things like that as well. So I always think it's really neat. And I remember like this could be a little pretentious if it's not done right, but like books like Watchmen or Doomsday Clock, they always end with a quote that like either summarizes the issue or kind of teases what's happening next. And I always really enjoy things like that. Yeah, so Rogue Sun #4, awesome issue. Anything else you want to add, Owen?
No, basically we said all there is to say. I'm really hyped to see what the heck the origin of Cataclysm is, which is of course, Dylan's mom. I'm very intrigued to see what issue 7 is going to be like, because Ryan has stated it's going to be like a choose your own adventure story, and it's like, how's he going to weave that into the plot?
That's cool.
That is true. People are like freaking out about that ratio cover with the choose your adventure like homage thing, and
So
I'm
good.
so good.
Maybe
And
it might not be what we think it is exactly because there's not numbered pages to flip to, right? Like you'd have to count out the pages so it'd be clumsy. Like maybe his mom literally chose her own adventure. We could see 2 timelines or something.
I know Charlie knows what I'm talking about, but there's a Flash issue. I think it's 776 or 777 where Dr. Fate shows up, and you can read the issue in reverse. Like you can read it from whatever order you want, from start to finish, or from finish.
Oh, I've seen
start.
There's Ice Cream Man issues like that too. They're like palindrome.
I highly recommend like reading that Flash issue. There's just so much fun, and the irony is that that issue was a homage to like an older issue they did a while back. So like in some way, like at least the team up and everything. So I love when they do things like that. I'm very much looking forward to Rogue Sun number 5 and onwards. Every issue is just fantastic, and truly like I'm just more and more impressed with it. There's a lot of stores I've seen that still have Rogue Sun #1s easily available, even some with discounts. So if you're looking to buy Rogue Sun #1, now's a great time. I highly recommend checking it out.
Before we move on, I just want to say, before I get killed in the comments, that like I was kind of shitting on the Rogues Gallery that Radiant Black has, how they're all powered up, like supercharged by the Radiance, and meanwhile we have a villain who's supercharged by like the 2 souls in our main character, but it's kind of nice that it's just that one dynamic. So I do notice that. I am a hypocrite, and we're moving on from it.
Yeah. Math Collection, I believe, and I'm just gonna double check that it is. And they're this really cool account on Instagram that just discusses comic book stuff. I followed them on the Radiant Black account, and they even talk about some Radiant Black stuff. So one interesting thing that I saw from them this week was that, yeah, they even have their own Substack. So they recently had a discussion, I think, with some of the creators, and like I said, this is all in Portuguese, so it was a little bit difficult to 100% translate, but with the help of some others, thank you very much.
It's a Portuguese on our part.
Yeah, and basically, we're getting a Radiant Pink miniseries is the news, a 5-issue miniseries, and it's going to come out in 2023. And from what I've heard is that the people involved are going to be Melissa Flores, Emma Kubert, and I believe Megan Camarena. The thing is, since then, I can't really find the post. It seems like they took it down, so
could have been because it's accurate or inaccurate. It's one of the two. Like it's either on the money or not, and they're not ready.
That's what
It's
I'm
funny.
saying.
So obviously, of course, I wanted to fact check this. So I actually directly messaged Melissa Flores about this, asking whether or not this is actually true, whether it's speculation. And her direct reply to me was, unless you hear directly from either Black Market Narrative, Kyle, or Michael, then assume that it's speculation.
Okay. I personally think that because Marcelo liked it, there is some weight to it. I think it's probably real. I think it's probably real, but they weren't supposed to reveal it. So
who's making fake stuff at this point in time? The Massiveverse is massive to us, but not everywhere else exactly. And like, is that really going to get you the followers and the attention to put out the fake rumor? I don't know.
Of course, I could be wrong, and I just want to put that out there that this is purely speculation, right? Like we're not assuming that this is the case or anything. We could be wrong.
It's an easy rumor to make up too.
Yeah, so just take it with a grain of salt. But what I will say is that some people have recently speculated that there's going to be a Radiant Pink miniseries that comes out in 2023. So I think there's a good chance this happens because Radiant Red, looking at the numbers, they've been pretty good, at least the projected numbers from Comic-Con. So I don't see why they wouldn't do a Radiant Pink. And I think one thing that really is cool about Radiant Black and the characters is that each of these characters appeals to a wide audience in different ways. You know, like for example, streamers might be drawn to Radiant Pink more because she represents that demographic because she is a streamer, and you know, amongst other things, of course. And then Radiant Red might appeal to a completely different demographic because they might be, you know, they might see other parts of her personality or her, you know, her design that they find attractive. So it really depends, and the same could be said for Marshall and all that. So it's very interesting to think of it in that regard. And I think, and we've spoken on this off the recording, but I think there's going to be a Radiant Yellow miniseries eventually. At least I hope so, because, and like I said, this is pure speculation, pure conjecture, because I think Radiant Yellow is very, very popular, probably the most popular outside of Radiant Black, and that's an assumption, but at least from what I've seen on all the different medias that we're involved in, people really, really like Radiant Yellow, and they really want to see
There's been
more.
talk of Wendell supremacy, plenty of it.
Exactly. So yeah, so you know, Wendell's got his fans, and but yeah, Wendell's got his fans, and I feel like we know really nothing about him other than he works at Best Buy and he gave someone a Radiant.
Yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
we'll find out more about him when we get his solo issue.
Yeah, for sure.
like
And,
his
and
origin
even
issue.
even though these are speculated in a way, like just a thought of expanding this universe, and whenever you get a chance to meet these characters and to expand on where they came from and learn more about them, it makes everything better. The rising tide lifts all boats, right? Like it just everything comes together, and it's definitely something really exciting to think about.
Personally, Wendell would be the one I'm most excited of the ratings to follow, but the pink thing would be interesting. I was reading Shift, and like when I read, we're not going to talk about it this week, but I read part 2 of Shift. There is a teleportation sequence, and it makes me think like that would be a hell of a fight, Shift versus Pink. Pain to
Yeah.
draw, but really cool fight. I think that they might meet up because eventually I think the ratings are going to unite to fight these rogues. I think that that's definitely on the table.
I mean, it depends. Like, some people think like Satomi is gonna be a villain, and like some people have asked Cherish like, "Oh, are you gonna take
If
her
you
to
can
dark
live
places?"
with Owen, not our Owen. I mean, clearly there's some evil in you. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't know. I think it'd be cool. Satomi's got rage, right? And it doesn't mean the villains can't be redeemed at some point. Like she could be, you know, I think that power, obviously, it lends to her. The Radiant found her. The robot could manipulate her, not to get too speculative, but who knows? Maybe these robots are more aggressive that are in the red Radiant. Who knows? Anyways, I'm sure we'll talk about it when we actually break into the issue proper.
Yeah, so let's dive in. Radiant Red 3, amazing team. We've got Cherish Chen writing, David LaFuente on art, Mikel Moritzo doing colors, Diego Sanchez doing letters, and Michael Basuto, editor and designer, and Deanna Phelps as the production artist. So awesome issue. I really like this issue. I think this one was my favorite issue of all of them so far. You know, we start with the reporter from the Lockport Voice, and it's pretty intense because
Alicia Castle.
yeah, it's pretty intense because we find out here that not only is she's really done some research on the hunt she had earlier regarding Satomi, but she's already drafted an entire article for the Lockport Voice with the headline Radiant Red revealed, and it seems like they're gonna blow the whistle on Satomi's
We
identity.
assume she's got her dead to rights.
Yeah. So, and then from there we go back to, of course, the Sone family residence, as in, I think it's her parents' house because they're with her parents, and it is her parents' house. And you see that, they're talking, they're having a good time, just bonding, looking at the scrapbook and everything. And Owen's actually breaking some news saying that, Satomi and I are actually putting the house up for sale. And then you see her kind of telling him to, shush. And it's very interesting because what seems like them kind of beginning to come back, closer again and repair that relationship, it kind of seems like that is improving, but at the same time, there's still some skeletons in the closet because she's still not comfortable sharing certain aspects of her life with her parents. And, this is a very big move for them. This is like a life-changing decision. So it's really interesting to see how secretive she's being about it.
Well, she doesn't want that, right? Telling your parents, I'm selling the house, which is a big accomplishment to have a house at that age in your 20s. You don't want to tell them that because you would feel like a failure or whatever. You don't want that conversation on top of the heat she already deals with her marriage, and then now having to be doing these, these extra missions on top of it and being blackmailed. So she's got a lot on her plate, and she doesn't want a second helping of grief.
Yeah, they try to cover it up real quick, but I don't think the parents really buy in. But just another example of Owen Owen just messing up the situation.
You know, it'd be amazing if the showing Satomi's hair as a child, they used to stick up in the back. If she got like her cape mode, like another form, and she had like a mohawk, it would stuck up in the back
Yes.
like that.
I was
They
just
forced
about
it.
to bring that up.
Really? That's sweet. No, it'd be cool if it happened. It'd be amazing if this was a seed they planted on purpose.
Yeah, so we see her meeting up with her new crew, which is the heist crew. It's interesting because you see that it's not even in Lockport. Sorry, not Lockport. It's not even in Romeosville anymore. It's in Calumet City in Illinois. So they're even in a different city, whole different town, kind of going the extra step to be discreet about everything and cover their ass. But it's cool. You've got some characters here. Introductions. We've got Danny, who's just basically the big muscle in that group. Ironically, even though probably Satomi's stronger. We got Tick doing surveillance, and we've got Shift being the leader, working with everybody, and he's really got that smug on him. And then we've got obviously Red. I like that they call her Red. It's really cool, to be honest. And then so she's delivering the payload, or she's managing the payload, and Satomi's very smart. I like how she's very she catches those words. You know what I mean? She doesn't let things slip. So she's like, "What's the payload? Like, what does that mean?" And that's when they explain to her. So I just want to say, there are some things that I personally, and I'm speaking for myself, not the podcast, not anyone else. This is my opinion. I like this page where they're showing the flashback, or not the flashback. It's like, what is it
They're
called?
showing the plan.
It's
They're
like
showing
yeah.
how-
It's like a flashback. It's like a flash forward, I guess. So yeah, it's like it's a flash forward, or it's a thought because of the way it's structured and the colors and everything. And I really like that. I think it's laid out well. My only thing is, personally, I don't like the way that Satomi and Shift are drawn in this book. I'm not a fan of the art in general, to be honest. I don't hate it or anything. I just don't love it. I think her feet look pretty funny. She kind of looks like Jaro in that one picture. So
She looks like she's melting into the ground a little bit on that second panel.
She just has no feet. She has no feet. Like later.
That's my only issue with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Same with the page down from that Shift is his feet are missing somewhere. He forgot his shoes at home. I also did want to say I could not get this out of my head. I think it was his facial expressions or whatever, but Shift also because I've been watching the new season of The Boys, but he's been just reminded. I just picture Anthony Starr
Homelander.
like Homelander.
Oh
Dude,
my
that's
God,
that's
yes.
good. That would be perfect, to be honest.
Yes.
Like, that's actually a really good. That guy is so good. He has a lot of presence.
So
Anthony Starr. If you want to see a good show with Anthony Starr before he was on The Boys, I highly recommend watching Banshee. It's really good. Very rated R though, so don't watch it with kids around or parents. It's awkward.
Or parents. Okay.
So So I actually really like the idea of the heist, like not as in the heist itself, which is cool. There's nothing wrong with that, but like the actual what they're doing. I think the fact that they have her moving this organomercury compound called Mercury S is a really clever way.
I like it.
It's cool. It's cool as fuck. Like it's just like they have her doing something really out of the box, and
it's risky. Like she can hold stuff, but you don't know if it's poisonous. You don't know what's gonna happen. So there is like that level of like, what the hell are you gonna do with it? And then she has to be able to like carry it perfectly. Like, but also SpongeBob would have been perfect for this task. But no, I think it's a really cool element, the Mercury S, for sure.
Yeah, and
it really shows the extent of her powers in this issue a few times, but I'm just really curious how much like damage or like mass she's able to actually consume at one time.
Where does it go? Is it in existence?
Yeah, like it's
exactly
like to what extent? Like it's crazy. Like there hasn't been anything she hasn't been able to absorb.
Because that's like her power, right? Like how Radiant Black has gravity powers. That's her power. She can absorb matter and then kind of reform it.
Marshall absorbed the robot, so that's a bit of absorption. So maybe they can all kind of connect to each other's powers in some way.
Did Marshall absorb the robot or like suck him into his black hole? Like, do you know what I mean? Like that's the thing. We don't actually like know what the hell happened there. Like, and then insert. This is why I need a voice board to say you guys don't know what the series is yet, and like that, just press it every time we're talking about something like that. That would actually be hilarious. But did you guys see this line? I thought it was really well done. Props to Cherish. I think this book is really well written. I think it's very intelligent, and I love Satomi's attitude in particular. I love how no fucking around she is. It's like she's straight to the point. She's very professional. But at this one line, she says she's being explaining the plan. She says, okay, they're telling her you'll need to absorb the entire batch retain it, and deliver its original form back at the safe house. And then I love the response from Satomi, and she says, at the risk of sounding unprofessional, that's not something I've been able to do at will, at least. And I really like that she's straight up like honest. There's no messing around with Satomi. Like she tells it as it is. You know what I mean?
It kind of reminded me a little bit of that Into the Spider-Verse moment where Peter's like, it's like, and he can also do this. Like, I can't do it on command. He can't do it on command.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I did. Yeah, no, that is a good point. I did really like that scene, and I did say these next couple pages really were one of the highlights of the book for me, or one of the most surprising parts of the book. Possible start of a redeemage for our friend Owen here.
I mean, that's what they. It's actually, I agree. I think that's what they're going for. But then they do something else. They do something else.
I still don't.
I'm trying to put myself in her position. I'm like thinking to myself, is this her trying to mend this relationship, or is this her trying to avoid more shit on her plate? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it could be like self-defense.
It might be a bit of both. It might be a bit of both, to be honest. Because like you said, self-defense, she's protecting herself at the end of the day, but I forgot if it was this issue or the previous one where she was looking through pictures and she has so many memories with Owen. Like it's tough, right? Like she's been with this guy for so long, and even though he's an asshole, it's kind of it's difficult. I don't know what else to say. It's a very difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for him, or for Satomi, maybe the way she sees it is Owen's always been, well, an addiction is one other thing, but maybe he's someone who thinks like he's been able to do everything on his own and fix his own problems on his own and fix their relationship. But now, like, just hearing he's actually willing to talk to someone and go get some help, I think she really is surprised by that, but really glad.
That was a Herculean feat accomplished by Cherish as a writer to make me care about Owen and feel bad for him. That's tough. That's
just for a second. Just for a second.
Yeah, it's some of the most impressive writing I've seen in the
yeah.
And I think there is like signs of genuine improvement. There's when
I
he starts
Owen
asking
wants
her
to change.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, he's really struggling to ask her to come to the meeting. Like you can see in impressions, it's hard for him to say it.
I think the mend is mostly coming from him, and while she's approving of it, I think she doesn't have the emotional capacity to be as present for Owen as she would normally want to be because of what's going on in her life with radio.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like I think mentally she's not there, even though she's replying to him. I think mentally she's overwhelmed. Like there's a lot of things going on in her head at that moment, and so she says, "Absolutely, when is it?" But like at the top of her head, she's still thinking, I have to do this heist. You know what I'm saying?
She's juggling right now, and she's trying to make sure she can keep as many balls in the air without, what balls I can afford to keep in the air, I'm going to, and the ones that'll smash on impact, I'll, pay attention to. But that's my metaphor. I lost my metaphor like a juggler, losing several balls. But that was it. I'm liking the story, and it's really interesting to see these dynamics of planning a heist, and then it's the home life on top of the heist. We don't get to see what Tom Cruise is up to in Mission Impossible. I don't know. I haven't seen Mission Impossible. I don't know why I even try to reference movies I haven't seen. Anyways, let's go.
One thing I love about this particular issue is that it completely changes after the halfway mark, because they introduce this out of nowhere, like this, I guess you could say this flame kind of thing that basically Shift is really into Tomi. Like he has feelings for her. Like not like the romantic.
It's a Pepe Le Pew style romance.
It's like he actually says this just so because you guys all brought this up. He says, "Where does all the stuff you suck up go when you're done with it? Does it come out somehow? Is it gross?" He's just like, you know what I mean?
Well, this is actually probably for those in horny jail, this is their week, really, because I didn't mention this when we were talking Rogue Sun, but there's the line of, then let us drink from each other and see whose thirst quenches first. Sounds very something. So definitely the horny.
I love how she calls him out on it though. He's like, they're training, and he's like, try thinking of whatever was going through your head when you first shot that molten liquid at me. She's like, how I wanted to kill you, and then he's like, there you go, try thinking about me, and then she's like, you never turn it off, do you? And he just laughs. Huge, but there's a little bit of like spark between them. It's I won't say spark. It's more like they have chemistry.
Imagine if there was a love triangle. Owen, Satomi.
That'd be hilarious. But that's the thing. If she becomes evil, I could kind of see that happening. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's not a Bermuda Triangle I want to get lost in. It sounds like it'd be treacherous.
So how cool was it when she shot out the stretchy fist? She just like shoots up a fist and straight up hits him.
Yeah, I noted. I love that.
he lands on her, and then they have that sexy moment, where she's like helmetless and his body's just like all over hers, and he says, "You're a lot of fun, Red." And that's when she just kind of rages and just shoots some flames at him, impulsively. See what you nailed the assignment, like he's almost happy with her, and he says, "Good job," and then he's like, "Let's do it again." So it's like he's like enjoying it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like a dance for him. It's like some Zorro shit.
Yeah, he's a fucking creep. That's why
Yeah.
he's enjoying it.
Shift, more like downshift.
Do you think Guy's from? I know she's from Romeosville, but is Guy from Flavortown?
Another thing I didn't love about this issue, and again, my personal thing, and it has nothing to do with the overall issue, but more just the way Marshall looks. I didn't love the way he looks in this issue. It just kind of felt a little off. Like it wasn't terrible or anything, but
The way Marshall
just
looks.
yeah, like his face, like it just feels a little bit off. Like I
The
don't know how
nose
to.
to me. I think it's
Yeah.
the nose.
Yeah, the nose and the chin, no?
I
Yeah,
will
the-
say on those couple of pages, the second one where Marshall shows up, that top right one with her holding the radiant, that might be my favorite panel of the whole series so far.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
It's a cool
It's
panel.
the glow. It's
It's the
the
glow.
hue and the glow. Yeah, it's so well drawn at that moment that it looks like
Could be Ghost Spider,
a
though, the
radiant
next one.
black. This is actually one of my favorite moments of the entire Massiveverse so far. The fact that Marshall comes here to check on her. I really like that. I really like that because it's a huge moment for both of them. On Marshall's part, it shows growth
To
on
even
his
go
part.
there.
Exactly. He's already like I was gonna say this earlier and I forgot, but I was gonna say Marshall is a bit dickish, and I think he would be really good friends with Dylan. Like if they ever met, I think they would be really tight, like bros, because they're both kind of similar. Like they both have like bits of hedonistic where it's toned up more with Dylan because he is actually a teenager, but Marshall kind of feels like Dylan when he's older. Like he's a bit of a dick. Like he's obviously more laid back, but I feel like they both have that like edge to them, so they would get
And
along.
most of his ideas, like he's an entrepreneur, like Dylan can get stuff done. His entrepreneurial thing is like, hey, I'll punch people. You know what I mean? Like they're both,
Yeah.
they've got busy minds, but no good outlet for them.
Yeah, and they have like similar personas, kind of. So I would love, like, they both have parents that ran out on them. Do you know what I mean? So it's like there's that dynamic where Marshall's dad has been absent from his life, and we see that there's some conflict there. But at the same time, Dylan's dad been literally absent from his life, and then now he's not. But the whole relationship is kind of skewed and different. So it's really interesting to see that they're both these kids with no, like they have issues with their parent figures basically, and it's not a very good relationship as is. So I love this moment. I love seeing him check in on Satomi. She asks him really important questions that we've all been asking. Like, I've been getting these flashes, and I might have one of those, and they might be talking to me, and that's a big deal because this is the first time in the entire Massiverse where we find out definitively, like 100% matter of fact, that Satomi does actually have her own robot that talks to her.
That's a big deal. And we can compare and contrast the differences to see how different these robots are. Maybe the robots have different ideologies themselves.
I just love that the robots actually look like unique. Like her robot looks a lot different than Marshall's robot, and I think it's dope. You know what I mean? Looks if the other two have their own robots as well. I'm assuming now because of this that they do, but
Robots have a visor.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It's leaving my screen,
Yeah.
my
Yeah,
screensaver.
it's-
I love the part when the robot first comes and says hello Satomi. The first thing he does is just goes and grabs her face, like
Did you,
fully
like-
manhandles her.
That was aggressive. Yeah, no.
Mm.
Yeah.
This claw machine and the I see you told me I've always seen you. Is it like maybe it's destiny that these Radiants found these people?
It is, yeah. At first, I guess, like, I just assumed they all came united, I guess, when they all got knocked off course, but they all came from the same source. I love the design on this thing, how it's also more similar to her aesthetic too, like her mecha like aesthetic, like when she gains like different weapons and stuff on her hands, like it's similar to that. But yeah, no, I can't wait to see like the yellow or pink one or yeah.
I just think Radiant Black and Massiveverse lends itself to an artistic synchronicity, and that you could do a lot of covers that are very nice that work well together. And what I mean by that is I published a thread on Twitter before where we showed this. Like you had the helmet variants that all look amazing together. You have the black and white or the colored variants, the opposite colored variants that go really nicely together, like I do have in the Twitter in the cover photo. So you have all these covers that go well together. And I can't wait to grab all those helmet variants from all the characters and put them together. They're gonna look
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, so and I still think one day they should do a cover with all the Radiants and their robots, kind of similar to how they did the connecting covers with the 1 to 6 that people bought, the Coliseum of Comics ones. I would love to see like a Radiant once we have all the Radiants and their robots
I
out,
feel
if
like
y'all
it's
are those.
possible. For all
Yeah,
we
yeah,
know,
like
that could
so,
be in Basuto's Dropbox right now.
and,
Oh yeah.
and like one day maybe like if we ever see all Radiants like do like a Megazord where they put all the robots together to form like a Mega Radiant, they should do the same thing they did in Supermassive where they had the fold out page and do that with all the Radiants. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That'd be
Hell yeah.
sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be like oh.
Yeah, no, I thought this was for sure, for me at least, and I think Bash too. This is the best issue so far of Radiant
Oh yeah.
Red.
Oh yeah.
Stuff's going on. It feels more connected, and I don't feel like we're just tethered to this heist. Like we have more stuff like Marshall, so it feels like a larger universe. And then of course the robot kind of brings us down to more kind of stuff we're familiar with, but like extremely interested to see how different this path is. Like if you notice,
You're not breathing. There's no room to breathe anymore in this series.
It also feels like we're getting larger implications to like the whole Reading Black universe now. It's not just the story about Satomi. Now we're getting to explore her big mecha.
Yeah, and
yeah,
it ends on a very intense note where it's like Alicia Castle shows up to the door and she's like, "Yo, like, what do you know about Radiant Red?" And it's like it's very ambiguous because you can't tell. We don't know yet because we haven't read the next issue, obviously. But in that moment, it's not. You can't tell if Alicia actually knows it's Satomi. And, I mean, she probably does, but you can't tell if like she's gauging her or not. I think she is. I think she's like testing whether Satomi's going to tell her the truth or not. You know?
Yeah, I
yeah.
think I have a feeling that I don't know where that maybe because at the beginning when Alicia says like I know it's one of them, but either way, I was thinking maybe that could be one of the Radiants, but or maybe she saw Owen with Satomi, so she's kind of like it's like either a 50-50, she knows it's one of them, but she doesn't know which one it is. But yeah, no, I can't wait to see that discussion next issue, and it was a really good ending for me, and definitely my favorite issue so far for sure.
You know, I've got some weird speculation that connects both issues we talked about today, and it's kind of a theory. I don't know if it's legit. It could not be, but in my head canon, I think it'd be pretty fucking sweet if you connect these two universes by having Alicia be the daughter of the woman that runs the jewelry shop in Radiant and Rogue Sun, because they both have their own passion for justice in their own kind of way. Like you can see the disagreement. I can see the narrative in my head of like she goes and writes for the newspaper, Alicia does, and tries to get justice her own way, try to do some stuff you can hold on to, while the mother can be like, yeah, well, I'm holding on to these demons inside this, this place. It could be like magic. You can have like the dynamic of her, belief in magic, confronting like, okay, I'm doing something that's like that I can hold on to. I don't know. It'd be cool if it happened. It's probably just fan fiction, but it's if it does happen, I just want to say it here.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that idea actually, and she does
Yeah.
kind of look like that kind of age. Like she doesn't look a very specific age, so you can kind of. I feel like you could kind of wiggle it around with that. But I really like that idea actually.
So yeah, that was Radiant Red for you this week. A lot happens, and it happens so fast. I just big revelations that now we have a Radiant Red robot. And so the question is, are we going to get a Radiant Yellow and Radiant Pink one? And if so, when? We know that Radiant Pink is getting her solo, or she just got her solo issue. My apologies. We know Radiant Yellow is getting his solo issue soon. So I actually give you guys a little background. So this is what it says for the very Dr. Manhattan-esque solicitation. So it says it's 1979. Wendell George graduates from Purdue with a degree in engineering and plans for the future. It's 2020. Wendell George discovers a cosmic artifact in a donut shop. It's 2023. Everything has fallen apart. Series writer Kyle Higgins is joined by Chicago sports radio star Lawrence Holmes and rising star artist Stefana Simeoni in the secret origin of Radiant Yellow. So that sounds it's going to be amazing. And I just want to give a special shout out to Paris Elaine, who's actually from Toronto-based comic book artist who did an amazing, gorgeous, truly one of my favorite covers of the series. And that's saying something because there's so many good covers. For Radiant Black number 18, did the cover B, and it's this awesome variant with Radiant Yellow and Radiant Black, just flexing their radiance. So awesome cover. Love to see it. Love to see some Canadian representation. I guess just Canadians working on comics. More and more. There's a lot of Canadian talent in Marvel, DC, Image in general. So that was cool to see. And then moving on, that's it for Massiveverse this week. I guess the Massiveverse news and everything. One thing we're gonna
if we're going on Tangent City, I do want to say that Oblivion Song ended wonderfully, and I fucking love
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yes.
Kirkman
Amazing.
just knows how to write like good finales. He has that formula now. I'm beginning to realize that he likes to do like time jumps in his finales. He likes to explore different aspects of like previous or forward times. He does that
Yeah.
a lot with all his books, and I love that. He gives you so much closure. Like he knows how to give you that closure, even if it's depressing. And I'm not saying that the ending was depressing, but I'm saying even when it's a dark ending, he gives you that closure. He's just a
Yeah.
good writer, man.
It is a good ending. The one thing I did hear him say on the Oblivion Song podcast, like him getting more used to these endings. But the one thing I actually did find pretty funny is just the way he ended it, just saying him every time he ends something, it just shows his lack of humanity. Like just the way he ends things, like just the way he views humanity. And
This felt
lack
more
of
hopeful
faith
though.
he
There was
has.
a bit of hope.
I actually, yeah. I
There,
thought
there
this
was hope,
super
but it was
Yeah.
the point is the human race is like fucks over everything they touch.
I don't know,
Like
man.
that's the way I.
You have to.
The
you
moment
have
I
to
saw
really-
that McDonald's and Starbucks in
Yeah,
Oblivion, I was like, all right, this has gone to shit. This
We
is
are
the
the
end
Walking
now.
Dead. We are the.
the original one.
Yeah, obviously we have gone on a multitude of tangents. I've been mostly silent because I'm trying to figure out a way how to keep up with you guys because you guys seem like you're going like a mile a minute. But
Sorry.
yeah, obviously, of course, we're probably going to be closing out soon. So I've been reading, a lot of stuff lately. I've been reading Seven Secrets by Tom Taylor and Daniel Gianniculo, which is so good. Doing that, but also keeping up with the Zdarsky Daredevil as well because
Oh,
got to
that's
prepare for that
awesome.
relaunch.
This is a fun one. We went
exactly.
everywhere.
Truly, we went everywhere. Hit Alta, and yeah. So check out Rogue Sun. Check out.
Doing on panel to panel this week.
We're doing Black Adam.
Hell yeah! So there we go.
So
If you like
good,
listening to
that
Black
one.
Adam,
Awesome.
Just please listen to that. Just because I really want you guys to know who Uncle Shazam is, because I swear to God, that's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in a comic book. Uncle
Don't forget about
Shazam.
Tawny the Tiger.
No, Tawny's I've always known about Tawny, but I literally did not know about Uncle Shazam until I read that issue, and I actually cried laughing. Dude, Shazam comics are amazing. Like they're actually like the closest thing to Tintin I've ever read. They're so good. They're so good. I'm impressed, like genuinely. But no, yeah, check out all these things. One announcement for a future Radiant Black podcast episode is that we are. So if you stuck with us this long in this episode, you get a little reward. We are going to be having a guest on in the future, and he goes by the name of Eduardo Fergato. So yeah, very excited about that. We're gonna talk
Fun.
all things Radiant Black number 15, and just about the artistic process behind Radiant Black for him and everything. And I can't wait because you guys know on this podcast how much we love Eduardo Fergato. And so that's going to be on the next episode. If you have any questions, just feel free to email them at radiantblackpodcast@gmail.com or just hit us up on any of the socials.
one quick thing I do want to say: The Orville's back on Disney Plus. For those of us that don't have Hulu outside the states, give that show a shot. If you like my kind of humor and you don't hate me, go check that out. Seth MacFarlane's not for everybody, but there's some genuine heart in those characters. The first season's a little rough, but I really love those characters, and there's genuine funny moments. It's like Star Trek with a little bit more like these are actual people. Like they're trying to do their best, but they're still humans. They're not like basically like cyborgs that have like evolved basically beyond the point that we're human. Still inspirational, but not like Star Trek Utopia quite. And they're trying. So it's really good. Check that out because that show kind of needs the extra push. It could easily be canceled. I'm under the impression this is the last season. So check that out if you want to, if that interests you. Anyways, that's it for me.
And one last thing is I've actually heard a rumbling that there is going to be a Firepower podcast coming up soon. So for those of you who know, I love Firepower. I've been talking about it a lot a year or so, sorry. And so we might have something in the works. Stay tuned for that because it's going to be fun. And
Get your
all
peanut butter
those-
ready because you're going to be jelly. You didn't tune in for this one.
Oh yeah, something that's been in the works for a while. Just keep an eye out for that, ladies and gentlemen. More news on that soon. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining us today on the Radiant Black podcast. It's been such a blast. It was such a long episode. I want to thank our special guest Owen for joining us today. Thank you so much. Anything you want to add, Owen?
Yeah, I just want to say, thank you for having me, on the pod. It's always great, talking and shooting the shit with you guys. Even if we go completely off tangent, it's still super fun because like seeing the way like you guys all bounce off and interact with each other, it's like, man, that's what friendship's all
We had
about.
fun. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. Thank you so much for covering these amazing issues with us, and stay radiant, everyone.